Everybody. Thank you so much for not only registering, but showing up. It's one thing to register, it's another to show up. So I appreciate your time. Again, my name is Jennifer LaRose. I am the president of Intrepid Advertising, which I started back in 2002. And I call it a traditional agency because it's interesting now that we are such a digital society. We refer to TV, radio, print as traditional media. So while I still, write copy, produce TV commercials, I do a little bit of radio. My primary focus really now is on digital. And that's why recently I did a DBA and named it DigiChicks, short for Digital Chicks. So full disclosure, before we really get started, I am also a BBB accredited business, as well as a director on the board at BBB. This is also the 100-year centennial of BBB. So I have also placed the media as well as done the commercials across the state to promote the different events that we've done for BBB. So I am very passionate about BBB. I've been involved with BBB for a long time, so I'm really honored to be able to give this presentation this morning. So whatever your role, whether you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a manager, I'm sure you have a pretty good idea of how important an online presence is. The reason on this slide that you see here that I emphasize strong is because it's the difference between a strong online presence and just being online that separates the good from the mediocre. And when it comes to the competitiveness of online presence, you want to make sure that you are at the top, that you are the strongest. So that's why I emphasize that. So whether you're a brick and mortar business or you're a e-commerce, I emphasize strong because it is very competitive out there, especially depending on your industry. Now, before we really get into the content, I just want to say one more thing, and that is everyone here that is on the webinar has a varying degree of online savviness. I recognize some names on here I know that work in the industry. So it is not my intention to insult your intelligence. And if you are not savvy, it is not my intention to talk over your head. So what I'm going to do during this presentation is if there's an acronym or a term, I'm just going to define it just so that everybody is on the same page and that everyone knows what I'm talking about. Sound good? All right. So to get started, one thing I'm sure that we can all agree on is that the internet is vast. It's dynamic, which means it is changing constantly. Google, which is the search engine that I'm going to focus on today because that is the king of all search engines, if you will, really has to constantly evolve. There are algorithms all across the internet and people's search habits change. So, it's a very dynamic world, in the internet. So once you think you have a search engine figured out, or you think you have an algorithm figured out, trust me, it will change. And so will you, and so will your online strategy. So whether you manage your own online strategy or somebody else does it for you, make sure that you have your eyes constantly on the changes and what you need to do to change along with it so that you can be on top, okay? With that being said, there are two areas I'd like to focus on today that I feel are at the core of a strong online presence. Now, you could ask 10 different experts in the digital world, and they might give you 10 different answers. But I think most people with a pretty good knowledge of the internet and the online digital world would agree that SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, and reputation management are extremely important and are really at the core of a strong online presence. All right, Brett, you can go to the next slide. So I'm going to share a couple of statistics, and I didn't source these statistics because if you conduct a search, right, on statistics, like how many consumers search engines before making a buying decision, you're probably going to get 10 different answers. So I basically took an average of the answers that I researched. But when you think about your own consumer behavior, okay, think about when you search on your laptop, your desktop, your phone, which over half of all searches are conducted on your mobile device. More than 90% of consumers search Google before making a major buying decision. Hopefully you agree with that. I put that statistic on there because I know that before I make any major buying decision, or if I'm trying to learn about a new product, I absolutely go to Google and conduct a search before I make that buying decision. Next slide, please. The next statistic is that 95% of customers read online reviews before making a purchase. There's even research that suggests people will travel an extra distance. They will pay more for a product or service if the reviews are better for that product or service versus somebody that might be closer versus somebody that might be cheaper. So online reviews are very important. And again, think of your own consumer behavior. Before you take any action in making a purchase, whether it be an online purchase or a purchase at a brick and mortar store, how often do you check those online reviews before you make a purchase? Probably approximately 95% of the time. All right, next slide, please. All right, so the core, again, is that I'll be discussing is mostly SEO, which is also referred to as organics or organic results, and reputation management. And I had a boss when I was in radio many years ago that always said, be brilliant at the basics. And I never forgot that, because if you make yourself an expert in one area and you continue to be brilliant at that, you're going to be pretty successful. So I am going to focus mostly on SEO, which again stands for organic results. Some people use that term, and then reputation management. The two terms that you see here on the bottom, consistency and accuracy, those are terms that are used a lot. Both, I'm going to share those, as well as if you were to conduct your own research or talk to anybody about, hey, what do you do for SEO? What works best for you? The words consistency and accuracy, as well as the word trust, are going to be used a lot, because that's what the search engines look for. Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide. Now, there are a lot of terms that are thrown around a lot online. One of them I've already mentioned a few times, which is SEO, that is search engine optimization. The other is search engine marketing. That is a whole nother webinar, search engine marketing. The word marketing being indicative of it's probably something you're going to spend money on. So I have two terms that I like to use when it comes to differentiating SEO and SEM. SEO, the one here on top, right, I refer to as the sprint. And you can see that I circled the word sponsored when I conducted a search for roofers, and I'm located in Rochester, New York. So when I go to Google and I type in roofers, Rochester, New York, at the very top, you are going to see search results that say sponsored or ad. Now, what that means is that every time somebody clicks on that, somebody is paying for it. And that's why I refer to it as a sprint. Because if somebody were to say to me, Jen, I just started a new business and I need to be at the top of Google. What do I need to do? I would say then you're looking to do a sprint to be a search that comes up at the top of Google. And that is also why it's called pay-per-click. So that is the difference between search engine marketing and search engine optimization, which I refer to as the marathon. Now, a marathon obviously is going to take a lot longer than a sprint. It is going to require much more patience to develop over time, and it's going to require consistency. So again, the sprint is going to be fast. The marathon is going to take place over time. And that is definitely the case when it comes to search engine optimization. Okay. Go ahead and switch to the next slide. All right. So this is a screenshot of the marathon, which is the organic results that came up when I searched for roofers, Rochester, New York. And this is what everyone is fighting for right here. The reason that you see Gaff Roofing, Greg the Roofer, Roofing Rochester, Cameron Roofing, is because the search engines trust their information. Okay. So through their different platforms, through their website, through their social media, through different online directory listings, using keywords that are important to their business. Like as you look at these organic listings, 48 best roofers near me, Rochester, New York, you see keywords that are bolded. Okay, so the reason that Google is showing those keywords is because it's saying, okay, this is what you're looking for. I want you to get the best search result possible for what you're looking for. And this is why I'm going to serve these up, because these keywords are commonly used when people look for, for this keyword, roofing, Rochester, New York. So these businesses did not pay to come up here. They fought for it. And they fought for it by having their eye on their online presence, by by maximizing those keywords, by being consistent, by sharing relevant content, and including a lot of content. Content is king. So if you make it easy for the search engines, and when I say the search engines, it goes, of course, beyond Google. It's Bing, it's Yahoo, even YouTube is a search engine. Okay. It's a social media site, but it is also one of the top 3 search engines in the world. So when you make it easy for the search engines to crawl or spider your content, it's going to make it easier for them to bring up your information as an organic result. I'm going to pause there to see if there are any questions. I know everybody is muted, but if you have a question, go ahead and feel free to ask it.
And Jen, I don't have any questions yet in the chat box, just to give you a heads up.
Okay, awesome. And feel free, if you do, to type in your question, because I really love engagement. I don't want to just be married to a PowerPoint and be a talking head on the screen. I really want everybody to pull some new or valuable information from this. So feel free to stop me if you'd like to. I'm just curious, though, if I could get some engagement, how often you click on the sponsored versus the organic. So let's say you're conducting a search for something. How often is it that you actually click on that sponsored or that ad that comes up at the very top versus scrolling down a little bit where you'll see Google Maps and you'll see the organic results? How often do you scroll down and select one of those choices?
So I actually always scroll down and I was told, because I understand that it's paid for, but that's always a conversation and not a conflict, but like they're very passionate about it. Some are like, oh, you never click on the paid one. So if, I wanted to wait till the end to see if you're going to cover that.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. And thank you for showing up. I used to work with Laura a long time ago. Um, so really the majority of clicks online take place in the organic results. It kind of goes back to that old 80-20 rule, right? Be brilliant at the basics. About 80% of clicks take place in the organics. And the reason for that is because it's trusted. People trust that information. And knowing what I do about online advertising, I hardly ever click on the sponsored because quite frankly, every time you click on that, it's costing somebody money, right? It's called pay-per-click. It is sponsored, it's an ad. So most people, to be honest, don't really like to be advertised to. When people are conducting a search, they already know what they're looking for. They want a fast result and they want it to be trusted information. So typically, they're not going to click on the sponsored. But if you are a business that wants to ensure you are at the top of Google, you would invest in search engine marketing. So that would be, for example, Google AdWords. That would be Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing. So if you want to ensure that you come up at the very, very top, then you will pay for it. And I'll use Google as an example again. Google, when you buy keywords in Google, it's called Google AdWords. It's basically an auction. You're basically bidding on keywords or long tail keywords such as Rochester, New York, best roofer near me in Rochester, New York, roofing repair near me. So those are examples of long tail keywords. So basically, it's an auction where you bid on keywords, and depending on how competitive your industry is, like I see Naima on here, I know that she's in the insurance industry. Depending on the market that you're in, buying keywords for insurance can be exorbitant. So what I'm going to tell you, and this is one thing that if you're taking notes, I really want you to understand, is that by building your organic presence, okay, the search engines are going to give you more credibility overall. So when you do bid on those keywords, when you do decide, you know what, I'm going to invest in some search engine marketing. I want to come up on Google and I also want to work on raising my organic presence as well. You will actually pay less for those keywords when the search engines see, hey, okay, this roofer has a very high organic presence. They are bidding on keywords. They're actually going to pay less because I trust the consistency and the accuracy of their information across multiple platforms. All right, does that make sense? Kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole there. This really isn't about SEM, but I want you to understand the difference.
Can I have the bakery department, please?
Go ahead and transfer you.
Thank you.
I need you to mute, please. Thank you. So hopefully that makes sense. Those who hold a high organic presence that that's the marathon that takes time to develop, will pay less for search engine marketing. Let's see. You can go to the next slide, Brett. All right, here's another nugget that I really want you to understand. The number one goal of any search engine Today, we're focusing primarily on Google, of course, but the number one goal of any search engine, whether it's Google, Yahoo, Bing, YouTube, even Facebook, is a search engine. I'm not sure if you knew that, but again, like YouTube, it's a social media platform, but it's also a search engine. Their number one goal is to provide you with the best search result possible to ensure an exceptional user experience. All right, let that sink in for a minute, because again, consider your own behavior when you're online. If I'm searching for something and their website is slow to load, or maybe I'm not finding the information I'm looking for right away, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to bounce, which is a term that is used quite a lot in the online world or the digital world. If a website has a high bounce rate, that means that people are coming to your website, they're not finding what they want or need in terms of content and information. So they're like, bye, see ya, I'm going somewhere else to find it. So Google wants to make sure that whatever you're searching for, whether it's a roofer, a restaurant, insurance, that it is going to serve up the most relevant, authoritative, trusted content that it possibly can, so that you will come back to their search engine again and again and again, because they are providing the content that you are looking for. Does that make sense? Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to it? Any questions or feedback? All right, I'm going to keep going. All right, so a question that you may have is, so how does Google decide what to search up or what to serve up as a search result? There are so many things that go into it. Again, the consistency of your content, the accuracy and the trustworthiness of your content. So when the search engines go in and, like I used the term, crawl or spider your content, if it sees that consistency, it's going to go, oh, okay, this must be a great site or a great business to serve up because I see that consistency and accuracy. That's also referred to as indexing. So as you are building your online presence across multiple platforms, your website, your Google My Business profile, which I'll touch on shortly, make sure that you are being accurate and consistent across all those platforms. So what do they look for in terms of content? Again, those keywords, which are very important. And another thing that is really important are backlinks. So as you see on here, there are two different types of local SEO. That's what we're talking about today. There's local SEO and national SEO, but today we're talking specifically about local search engine optimization. The two types are on-site search engine optimization and off-site search engine optimization. Now, on-site, of course, is exactly what it says. It is content within your website that should follow Google's EAT acronym. That is actually their actual acronym. So the E stands for expertise or authority. You want to make sure that you represent yourself as the authority in your industry by providing relevant content that people are looking for, okay? You also want to make sure that your content is accurate. And again, that word, trustworthy. Now, offsite SEO, that is all of your content that you put out there that is not your website or your landing page. A landing page being like a one-page website. So examples of this, of off-site SEO, are social media, Google My Business, or it's now called Google Profile Page, and accurate NAP information. Now, the acronym NAP stands for name, address, and phone number. And this is what the search engines crawl or look for when, let's take, for example, you have several directory listings, okay? Let's say you might be listed in yp.com, TripAdvisor, BBB is a great example. If your NAP information is consistent on a lot of different directories, it is going to trust your content more. If it isn't consistent, then you got to remember it's a bot, or it's spidering your content. It's not a human being that's going in there and reviewing your content. So I'd like to give you an example of when I really started to become passionate about digital advertising, about online, and I got to understand what business listings management was. I was working for a company and I was handling their carpet and flooring business. And the name of this business was Sale on Carpets. They've since sold off all of those stores. But I said, all right, let's see how you come up online. So I conducted a search and they did not come up high. I had to go into the third, fourth, fifth pages of Google before really anything started to come up that resembled Sale on Carpet. And I said to my client at the time, so what is your actual name? Like, if you were filing an LLC, how would that look? What would the name be? And my client said, well, it's Sale on Carpet and Design Center. And I looked at the search results and I said, well, one search result says sale, SAIL, on carpets. Another says sale, like it's on sale. Another says sale on flooring. Another said sale on carpet. So I said, the search engines don't really understand who's on first, right? It doesn't understand if sale on carpets is the same as sale on flooring, is the same as Sale on Carpet and Design Center. Do you follow me? So your NAP information, your name, address, phone number, needs to be accurate and consistent across everywhere that you are online. On-site, off-site, directory listings. Make sure that that name, address, and phone number are consistent. Now, there is a service that I use, and I'm not endorsing any specific service or anything like that, but I'll just tell you the service that I use is called Yext. And Yext is a service that gets clients listed on, gosh, approximately 200 of what search engines consider the top search engine, or excuse me, the top directories. So what it will do when you provide that information is it will list your information in those directories exactly as you provide it, so that it makes the search engines easier to crawl your content, and it sees that it is consistent and accurate. Now, a little aside that I would like to mention, I'm not sure how many of the webinar participants are BBB accredited businesses, but I am. And when you're an accredited business, you get a BBB business profile page, okay? Search engines love bbb.org and love the information that it can pull from BBB's website and those business profile pages, because BBB invests, and they didn't tell me to share this information. This is what I've learned over the years. But BBB's data and their content is highly trusted across the internet. They spend a lot of time on their data. making sure that the information that they provide to consumers, right, which is probably why their slogan is start with trust. That's why it is so trusted. So if you are not an accredited business, I would really highly recommend looking into being an accredited business, because it just adds that much more credibility to your business and to your industry. You can go to the next slide. So I'm going to wrap up this part of SEO, and just to reinforce that SEO is exactly what it is. It is exactly what it says. You are optimizing your content on your website, your Google My Business profile, your social media, reviews, etc., to appeal to the search engine so that when someone searches for your product or service, you come up as the best search result because your content is trusted, accurate, and consistent. So my tip is make it easy for search engines to spider, crawl, and index your information. Okay. Now, before I transition to touch on reputation management, are there any questions, any comments, anything that anyone would like to add?
I do not have any in the chat box at this time.
All right. You can go to the next slide, please. All right. So reputation management in a nutshell is reviews. And at the beginning of the webinar, we talked about how 95% of consumers check out reviews, whether it be Amazon reviews, Google reviews, Facebook reviews. The number one source is Google reviews. That's why I have it circled there. So Exceptional Exteriors Roofing and Siding, and they're not a client of mine. I just wanted to use them as an example. They have 184 Google reviews. Now, when you mouse over that, this is a screenshot, so I can't do a live representation, but when you look at their reviews, it will, it'll show their reviews. And it's interesting that the reviews actually default to what it feels are the most relevant reviews that the consumer would like to see, right? So you might look at reviews and pull them up and go, gosh, this last one was from 6 months ago. That's the last time they got a review. Not necessarily. Google's going to say, I want to put the Google review up that I think will best help this consumer make a decision. All right. That will give them the best content, the best information that they are looking for. So you can pull up the most recent, you can pull up the oldest, but the default that Google goes to is serving up the review that it feels is most relevant. So relevancy is very important when it comes to Google. All right, and what you are looking at there, okay, that screenshot is called GMB, or Google My Business. It is also a Google My Business knowledge graph or profile. And that is something that you would have to set up. And the good news is that you can set it up for free. And I'll show you where you can do that. Go to the next slide, please. I want to talk on the other R in reputation management, which is response. So again, I'm going to use Exceptional Exteriors Roofing and Siding as my example. So when you open up those reviews, right, what I circled there is a response from the owner. And when you are looking at reviews, sometimes you're going to see a response from the owner and sometimes you're not. And I don't know about you, but once in a while I leave a review. Typically it's a positive review, but I have left negative reviews. And one way or the other, if I spend my time to leave a review, I want to know that the person on the other side is seeing that review, that they're acknowledging that I took the time to give them feedback about their business, whether it was positive or negative. So another nugget that I will emphasize today is that one of the best things that you can do as a business owner for your online reputation management is that when you get a review, make sure that you respond to it. That is so imperative because it also shows to the search engines that you are engaging with your consumers, and engagement is very, very important for your overall online presence, not just reviews. But this is also an opportunity in your response for a couple of things. One, it's to include some keywords. You can say, Dan, thank you very much for this thoughtful review. We work hard to go above and beyond for our consumers. You can kind of plant some keywords in there. We're proud to be one of Rochester's best roofers, and we hope that in the future we can help you with, any siding or, gutter needs that you may need. So it's actually an opportunity for you to utilize some keywords in your response. It is also, on the flip side, an opportunity for you to address any issues. Okay, so we know that reviews are sometimes a great place for internet trolls to hide behind negative feedback. And unfortunately, the only way for a review to be taken down off the internet is for the person that placed it there to take it down. So if Exceptional Exteriors got a negative review, because their return on investment is so high, I'm sure that what they earn, when they do a roofing job, a siding job, replace windows is very, very high. The cost to them to get a negative review is really going to hurt. So if they get a negative review, they want to get right on it and say, hey, Tom, really appreciate you bringing this to our attention. We would like to address this immediately because we really appreciate your business. How can I reach it? How can we connect so that I can make sure that this is right, so that we can make this right for you? Chances are, if you do that and you right the wrong, they will take that review down. The only other way to suppress that review is to get more reviews so that eventually it kind of falls down on the list, right? And to get a lot more positive reviews, but don't set it and forget it. Don't do something online, whether it be set up a social media profile or your Google My Business profile, and not respond, not engage. It's very important for you or for whomever is managing your online reputation to have eyes on it at all times. And make sure that, by engagement, you are adding pictures of recent work, of, of video. The search engines love video. And so do consumers. And that's why search engines love video, is because we are really conditioned when we're looking for something online to, to look for video. We like to see pictures. We're very visual. So in a nutshell, the most important thing when it comes to online reputation is to engage and to respond, because most consumers are checking those reviews before they make a buying decision. All right. Any questions or feedback on that? Any examples that anyone wants to share or give at this point?
Jen, can I just add a comment to one of the things you had just said?
Yeah, please.
The only thing I was just thinking of, and this is something that we talk about a lot, is if you are writing a review, if you receive a review online and it is negative about your organization, read through it carefully and take the time to process it. Like, do not send an immediate response. Do not send a sarcastic or an angry response back. It's so natural for us to potentially take offense at someone else's words. And if we're very quick to respond to it, generally we're going to have an undertone that may be taken across as aggressive. So the best thing to do is to really take the afternoon, take the morning, really think about what you're going to say and then post it versus posting a comment back that's going to start some sort of verbal war, if you will. But that's something that we do see a lot of the time.
Great advice. Yeah, I mean, there's instances too, Brett, of, disgruntled employees. They leave an organization, they get fired, and one of the first things they want to do is leave a scathing review because they want to hurt them. And quite honestly, it will hurt them. But as consumers, we have trained ourselves, or we are savvy enough to look at a review and go, this looks like somebody that maybe worked there or didn't get their way, or something looks a little sketchy here. Sometimes people can read between the lines.
Right.
But a lot of times before people even click to see the comments, the responses, they see the stars. So if somebody leaves a 1-star review and leaves a scathing response, if they don't even get the chance to click on it because they see like maybe 3.5 stars because that person or maybe a couple people left a really bad review and it's really pulling down their average on their review stars, then you're not even going to get the chance to have them look and see at your response, or to have them look and see that maybe it was a disgruntled employee. So great addition to that, and very, very accurate. Next slide.
Sure.
All right, so I mentioned Google My Business, or a Google profile. And believe it or not every business has a website. And that's okay if you don't have a website. What I would recommend is that if you don't currently have a website, here's what I would do. Go to business.google.com/create. And this is where you can set up your Google My Business profile. And you can make this extremely content rich. You can include photos, video, a picture of the exterior of your establishment. You see on this slide how there's, a tab for website, directions, save this or bookmark it, or call, which, if you're doing a search on your mobile device and you get their Google My Business and you click on that, it's called a click to call. So that is an action that can be taken that will go directly to your business and lead to an immediate, response from a potential customer. So Google My Business is very, very important, because if you don't have a Google My Business, it's pretty unlikely that you will rank high in organic results that everyone's fighting for. Okay. So Google's, even if you have a very content rich website and you have a lot of social media platforms, if you don't have a Google My Business profile, they're probably going to go, wait a minute, this business I don't see any information on their GMB or their Google My Business profile. So I'm going to serve up this other business that does have a Google profile. Does that make sense? So this really is an incredible opportunity for you to utilize for your business, that again, it's free. And you can set it up relatively easy, again, by going to business.google.com. And this is where you will also collect your Google reviews, which is the primary place that most consumers go to leave reviews, to check reviews. So highly, highly recommend setting up Google My Business or having somebody do it for you. And that keeps their eye on it, meaning make sure that you don't set it and forget it. Make sure that you are continually adding photos, that you are adding video, because again, that shows the search engine's engagement, and search engines love engagement. It shows that you care about your consumers, that you are staying on top of your content, and that you are relevant. So I believe that is the last slide. You can go to the closing slide. I would like to offer, I have this really cool, sophisticated software that I can do an SEO audit report. And that will give you a score on several things. It'll give you a score on out of 10 on your SEO, on your social media, on your reputation management, on your on-site optimization, on your off-site optimization. A lot of the things that we've talked about today, I can do an SEO audit report for you that only takes, by the time we input the information, about 10 minutes. So if you would like one of these to show where the opportunities are for improvement, I am more than happy to do that for you. Just email me at jennifer.larose@digichicks.com, or feel free to text me and I'll reach out to you to get your information, and we can do it live right there. And I can even show you an example of how I do it right now if anyone is willing to provide their information and have their results shown live on the screen. I'm happy to do one now, but I'm not sure how we're doing as far as time. We're coming up on about an hour, so that's really up to Brett, but I'm open for questions and feedback. Or maybe tell me something that you learned today that you didn't know, or that reinforced something that you already did know.
Jen, going back to what Brett was talking about earlier, is the idea when you're answering a review, especially if it's a negative review, is to kind of take it offline where you're talking individually to the person?
Yes, absolutely. That is absolutely what Brett was talking about, because if somebody leaves a negative review, they're probably pretty emotionally charged up about it. And if you engage, it's going to perpetuate that conversation. It's going to keep it going. So what you want to do is say, hey, let's address this offline so I can take care of the issue for you, so that I can solve this problem. And what I've seen happen, Tom, is that when it's taken offline and that turns into an opportunity to create what I call a raving fan, you will actually perhaps turn that negative review into a positive review. That person might say, hey, you know what? I had a little bit of an issue, and issues do happen with companies, right? We're not all perfect, but they addressed it, they took care of it, and Tom was often. I can't thank him enough for solving this problem for me. So that is exactly what you want to do, is don't perpetuate and keep that conversation going. Look at it as an opportunity to take care of a problem and to create a raving fan out of them. Another thing I want to do that I want to share as well about reviews is, if you are setting up your Google My Business and you want people to start leaving you reviews, the best way to do that is to ask people on the spot when they have a good, a good experience with you. I'm going to use Melissa Beckwith as an example. I know her family owns Fairport Village Inn, which is a very popular bar and restaurant in the village of Fairport. And if, let's say, a server goes up to the table, or maybe the owner goes up to the table and says, this was the best dish I have had. This is the best prime rib I have had anywhere in so long. That server, that owner might say, you know what, I really appreciate that. In fact, If you wouldn't mind, we're trying to build our Google reviews. Would you mind taking a minute posting that on Google for us? We would really appreciate it. Now, 9 times out of 10, they're going to leave and they're going to forget to do it. So sometimes you might want to say, hey, like who doesn't carry their phone with them all the time, right? Would you mind leaving a review? Go to Fairport Village Inn. Our Google My Business will come up. You can leave a review right there. Same thing with the insurance industry. I'm sure that Naima has encouraged agents to do this as well. If somebody has a great experience with an insurance agent, that insurance agent might say, hey, you know what? Here's my Google My Business profile. Would you mind leaving your experience or your review online for me? We would really appreciate that. Capture them at the moment of satisfaction. Capture them at the moment of being a fan of your product or service, because once they leave your office, once they leave your restaurant, and they tell you, I'll leave you a review, chances are it's pretty slim that they're going to do that. They're going to get distracted by 50 other things. And a cautionary tale is also don't review stuff. It's kind of a slang term, but don't have like 10 of your closest friends write reviews within a couple days time, because if you go from say no reviews or just a few reviews to say 10 or 20 reviews, Google's going to go, this looks like review stuffing, because they went from not really having anything to all of these glowing reviews over the course of 2 days. So common sense, just, be consistent. As I've said several times, I've been consistent about saying consistent, so that you're not flagged by the search engine. You want to grow them over time and have them be relevant and natural, true reviews. You want true reviews, not kind of planted reviews. So that's my advice on that. Anything else? Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
We just had one in the chat box from Melissa, and she was asking you how artificial intelligence impacts SEO, or has it yet?
Great question, because it seems like every time you turn on the TV or you read news, you're reading about AI, you're reading about artificial intelligence. Where this really plays a key role is in keywords. Okay, so as you're setting up your content, whether that be on Google My Business, your website, your social media platforms, AI has had a significant impact on keyword research and analysis. So for content creators, for SEO specialists, for business owners, it helps them to identify the right keywords and phrases to target and to develop that content so that it's more relevant and more engaging to help their overall SEO performance. So if you go into, Chat GPT, it's AI is pretty cool. It's going to come up with some suggestions for your industry of how you can effectively and relevantly say or demonstrate to your consumer what it is they're looking for and the best way to say it. So as far as artificial intelligence, the biggest impact that it has, specifically for this webinar, is on SEO and coming up with content that is content rich, keyword rich, that is going to help you rank higher. Hopefully that answers your question.
And it looks like, Jen, we're just popping off at the 11 o'clock hour. Is there any parting words or anything you'd like to say to kind of wrap things up?
No, I hope if anyone has any feedback, questions, comments, that you will reach out to me. Again, I am an accredited business with BBB. I have a passion for what I do. I appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day to show up. And I hope that this was helpful. And I just want to say thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Jen, as well. Great job today.
Thank you.